Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing, ladies and gentlemen. There's a good fight that's creeping up on us. Very intriguing fight. And it's between David Benavidez and David Morrell, a battle of the Davids. This is going to be on February the 1st. So, just under a month away. And it's intriguing. Both of these fighters were avoided, quite openly avoided, in my opinion, by Canelo Alvarez. They're two former 168-pound contenders, both extremely good fighters. Morel is a Cuban, 26 years of age, 6'1", 11 wins with 9 KOs, no draws, no defeats. Benavidez, 29 wins with 24 KOs, no draws, no defeats. He's 28, so only a couple of years older. 6'2", so very evenly matched in terms of age, dimensions. The record for Benavidez, far more impressive, although we'll come to Morel in a minute. But yeah, more depth of quality of opposition and obviously more fights. I mean, he's beaten people like, David Lemieux didn't last 3 rounds. Lemieux, tough guy, but just got blown away, too small probably for Benavidez. Demetrius Andrade was another one who was too small. He retired after 6 rounds. Caleb Plant, that was a good fight. Benavidez won a 12-round unanimous decision. Plant showed a lot in that fight. Tough guy, Plant, tough guy. Ronald Ellis was another victim, I think about 3 or 4 years ago. What are we in, 2025? Yeah, this would have been about 3.5, 4 years ago. That was an 11th round KO. So Anthony Durrell, who was past his best, he got stopped in 9 rounds. So, there's some real depth in quality with Benavidez, whereas with Morel, with only 11 fights, 9 KOs, he hasn't really beaten anyone. No, he's beaten what you might call B- fighters. He stopped Alantes Fox in 4 rounds. These, of course, are all down at 168. Asena Agbeko, he did him in 2 rounds. That was an impressive performance. Radovic Kaladzik. Now, that we'll come to that in a minute because that was his last fight. And that was a 12-round decision, his first fight at 175. Kaladzik was 29 wins and 2 defeats. And that was for the WBA light heavyweight title. Whereas in Benavidez's last fight, he also made his debut at 175 and fought Alexander Vozdek and won a unanimous decision. And he collected the WBC interim title. So they both picked up these sort of, trinkets, WBA, WBC trinkets in their debuts at 175. And they fought at 175 simply because they had to move up. Canelo didn't want to fight either of them. Canelo is, I'm tempted to say he's holding the belts at ransom. He's kidnapped them and he's fighting. He's I do hate the phrase, but he is kind of cherry picking fighters who are sort of good enough to give him a good fight, but not good enough necessarily to have a realistic chance of beating him. I think Morel and Benavidez are 2 people who would definitely have a chance of beating him. I've always been high on Morel at 168. I thought he was terrific. People were singing the praises of Benavidez, and Benavidez has a lot to offer. But I always thought Morel, as someone who didn't have many professional fights, nevertheless, he really showed, a lot to me. I thought this guy looks like a real threat, the real deal. Sometimes you can just tell, even though a fighter hasn't had that many pro fights, you can think, this guy, he's good. This is going to be the last man standing. And if both these guys were still at 168 and Canelo was prepared to fight either or both, then I would still have picked Morel to be the last man standing at 168. Now, they have weight divisions for a reason, of course, and it has to be said that Morel did not look impressive against Kaladzik, Radovic Kaladzik. He did not look good. He won comfortably, but it was competitive. He went the 12-round distance. You could say that's a good thing. He's done the 12-round distance. That's great. He needs the rounds, the pro rounds. But he didn't look anywhere near as good as he had done. And Benavidez, even though I'd say for the first 2/3 or 3/4 of their fight, he was pretty much in control against Gvozdyk. Gvozdyk came back. That fight reminded me a little bit of the second fight between J.R. Pataya and Maris Bradis, because Bradis was being beaten for much of the fight and then came on strong at the end. And I thought Gvozdyk came on strong at the end of his fight with Benavidez. So neither guy in their 175-pound debuts looked particularly great. But here's the thing. This fight is gaining a bit of controversy because Benavidez has cast quite strong aspersions on David Morrell regarding drug testing. He claims that, it's not just him actually, a few people have said this, that Morrell isn't fond of being drug tested by VADA. And, what does this indicate? Now, look, I'm not here to say that proves anything. It's not the same as popping hot, but if someone is avoiding drug tests, there is a suspicion there, and I think that has to be addressed. Now, in a statement, when he was interviewed, actually, Benavidez said, if there's VADA, Voluntary Anti-Doping Association testing, then let's do it, make it a clean fight. He's saying that other fighters against Morrell tested with VADA, but Morrell swerved the test. That's what he's saying. And Benavidez said, I'm not saying he's on steroids or anything like that, but when you're not trying to do the VADA test, it looks a bit weird. He also says he's a gym rat, he's talking about Morrell, because he's getting tested. Don't quite see the connection there. This is clean boxing. We're getting VADA tested every week or every 2 weeks, says Benavidez. And if you don't like it, says Benavidez, you're probably doing something, or maybe you're a little bit worried that something might go wrong with the VADA tests. Yeah, okay. Point well taken. Benavidez also points out that he's been tested more than anyone in VADA. I don't know whether that's whether that's a fact, whether that's true. He's saying, yeah, it's definitely true. I've been tested more than 30 times and I've never complained. So, what do we make of this? This is curious. Yeah, I don't know. I would say a fight of this magnitude, which is two undefeated contenders who hold secondary belts, they need to be tested. VADA should come in. And if I was Morrell and people had been throwing my name around as a possible PED cheat, I'd be saying, all right, you come and test me then. Just to put the whole thing to bed. Now, VADA tests are not cheap, by the way. That's why a lot of promoters don't use VADA. Eddie Hearn has said in the past that a VADA test costs about 40 grand. I don't know why, but it's a lot of money. I don't know whether he was talking about tests for a couple of guys or whether he was talking about a whole card. But they're not cheap. I mean, these guys don't come cheap. It's all, laboratory testing, professionals, and so on and so forth. Whether they can justify that sort of charge, I don't know. But then we are talking about America, where we know that the so-called healthcare system is really just something that would make the Cosa Nostra blush. So maybe there's that element to it. But it does make this fight a little bit more intriguing. Now, I'm going to hold off doing a prediction, and I think to do a prediction is difficult because, as I say, both guys have only fought at 175 once. They both picked up secondary belts and neither looked particularly impressive. So we will see, but on paper, very evenly matched despite the difference in records. Similar age, similar height. Yeah, I'm intrigued by this, and it's going to happen on February the 1st if one of them doesn't pull out. So what do you think? Are you looking forward to this fight? This is one that really does intrigue me. I think this could be what you might call a sleeper fight, where one of them really either shines or they have a great fight and both emerge, with both their stocks improved. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Tell me what you think. Comments below, of course. And please, if you're new to the channel, you could subscribe. That would be great. And also hit the like button as well. Much love to all of you. Thanks for listening. And I always appreciate your time. And I'll catch you later. Bye for now.